For years, fans watched the Browns fight the wilderness, but the biggest battles weren't with wildlife. They were with the law, with each other, and with devastating loss. These are the untold stories Alaskan bush people left out. What began as a rough-hewn, small-town survival story on the Discovery Channel grew, across 14 seasons, into one of reality TV's most polarizing sagas. The Brown family, grizzled patriarchs, lovers of isolation, and an army of children raised largely off the grid, became household names. But as the cameras rolled and the audience grew, the public record accumulated a counter-narrative of tragedy, legal trouble, and internecine family conflict that many longtime fans say has been quietly building beneath the paint and wood veneer of the show's wilderness myth-making. This is the darker ledger: deaths, arrests, accusations, lawsuits, and the reputations that followed them. The death that marked the true turning point came in early 2021. Billy Brown, the show's head, a white-bearded, charismatic fixture who embodied the family's eccentric worldview, died after suffering a seizure. The cameras had shown viewers the family's struggles for years. Billy's illness and death were documented in close, often unflinching detail on the series. For many fans, the scenes of the family grieving felt like the end of an era. For critics, Billy's passing catalyzed fractures and legal fights that quickly complicated the Brown legacy. The family's grief played out in public, and questions about the family's finances and business dealings began to surface in court filings and headlines. Billy's death was widely reported and widely mourned by viewers who had followed the Browns' rustic adventures. It also removed from the fold the family's principal manager and mediator. In the years that followed, the show never really regained the stability of its earlier seasons, and the aftermath included both personal calamity and public controversy. Arrests and criminal allegations, a new chapter. In 2025, the Brown family's troubles escalated into fresh, headline-grabbing legal matters. Merry Christmas Catherine Rain Brown, the youngest of the Browns and one of the show's more social media-savvy members, and her husband Josiah Lorton were arrested in April 2025 on serious burglary and malicious mischief charges after a reported incident in Okanogan County, Washington. Court records and reporting by national outlets show first-degree burglary and first-degree malicious mischief among the charges. Rain was also booked on a trespass count. Both were released pending further proceedings. The arrests shocked many viewers who had watched Rain grow up on television. The burglary allegations were stark. Media outlets and local court documents reported that items allegedly taken included significant sums of cash and valuable property, and that the alleged victim was known to the couple. The story quickly rippled through tabloid coverage and social feeds, and in the weeks after the arrests, Rain pushed back publicly against some of the claims, calling out family members and critics in videos and posts. Coverage also amplified long-standing whispers about substance abuse, family estrangement, and intermittent standoffs that had not been fully aired during the series' run. This was not the first brush with law enforcement for the Browns. Bear Brown, one of Billy's sons, and an early fan favorite, has faced legal problems in prior years. Bear was arrested on domestic violence allegations in 2022. The charge received broad attention and became part of a string of stories that suggested the family's off-grid image didn't shield them from the same messy modern legal realities as anyone else. Those earlier arrests added to the pattern of scandals that, cumulatively, have reshaped public perception of the family. Family fractures and public accusations. If the arrests exposed legal peril, the family's internal divisions exposed something worse for the grand: a breakdown of trust. Multiple reports in 2024-2025 described bitter disputes between siblings, contested welfare checks, and even petitions for protection. One highly publicized spat involved Noah Brown, who publicly accused his sister Rain and their mother Ami of methamphetamine use, a claim Rain has vehemently denied. Those accusations spilled onto social media and into local courtrooms, forcing private tensions into public view and prompting commentary about elder care, substance use, and family accountability. The spectacle has been painful for viewers attached to the family's televised narrative, and it's been messy for a cast whose identities were built around a shared myth of rugged cohesion. The family's internal rifts have also involved disputes over who is caring for whom, where family members are allowed to live, and what constitutes acceptable behavior for someone who grew up in front of the camera. These are not just tabloid talking points, they're legal questions in some cases and emotional ruptures in many others. For a family that built their reputation on togetherness and isolation, the public unraveling has been a jarring counterpoint. Cancellation and court battles. The television production that once vaulted the Browns into the spotlight went quiet after 2022, and the show's cancellation left loose ends. In the wake of Billy Brown's death, litigation emerged. A former business associate of Billy's filed suit against his estate, claiming unpaid fees and contractual obligations related to the family's production company and creative output. While such lawsuits are common in the entertainment business, they became part of a media narrative that suggested financial disarray and backstage infighting. Those legal proceedings exposed contract details and revenue questions that collided with the Browns' on-screen image of austere living. For viewers and media observers, the suit and the show's end were a reminder that reality TV is an industry with deals, accountants, and disputes, even when the content foregrounds a rejection of modern life. For fans, the shattering of the Adventure family story into legal filings and court dates was difficult to square with the porch swing vignettes they'd come to love. The toll on mental health and public sympathy. Beyond arrests and lawsuits, the Browns' story has been threaded with personal tragedy and mental health challenges. The family has publicly acknowledged struggles with depression, addiction, health scares, and the repeated pressure that comes with publicity. Rain Brown, who spent much of her adolescence in the show's spotlight, has spoken in the past about depression and emotional struggles. At the same time, she's been embroiled in family feuds and, most recently, criminal allegations that have repositioned her public image. Moments like these complicate the easy binary of villain or victim. They reveal a family under strain, emotionally, legally, and financially. Supporters and critics alike have had to reconcile sympathy for people coping with grief, illness, and addiction with accountability for alleged criminal acts. The Browns' situation is a reminder that reality TV fame can intensify private pain and public scrutiny in ways that make recovery and rehabilitation fraught. Fan reaction and the ethics of voyeurism. If there's a meta lesson here, it's about the ethics of watching. Alaskan Bish people built its audience on intimate access to a family's life. But that intimacy came with a cost. As private crises were broadcast and replayed, viewers were forced into a simultaneous role as witness and consumer. Many longtime fans have expressed disillusionment. Others remain fiercely loyal, insisting that cameras don't tell the whole story and that the family deserves privacy and support. The industry, meanwhile, faces renewed questions about how reality shows handle health crises, minors, and the long-term welfare of participants once cameras stop rolling. Critics argue networks and producers should bear more responsibility for providing aftercare and for ensuring that storylines aren't exploited for entertainment at the expense of participants' long-term well-being. Advocates for reality TV reform say the Browns saga is exactly the kind of wake-up call the industry needs, an example of how fame, when mishandled, can exacerbate existing vulnerabilities. As of spring 2025, the Browns remain a family in crisis. Rain and her husband face criminal charges that are still progressing through the courts. Long-running claims about the show's authenticity and the Browns' business affairs have been made fodder for lawsuits and tabloid coverage. Several family members continue to be visible on social platforms, posting updates, rebuttals, and pleas for privacy, while other aspects of the family's past remain under legal review. Even with the cameras gone, the story has not ended. For viewers who once tuned in for the romanticism of living off the grid, the Browns' post-show life is a bracing reminder of how quickly reality TV's narrative arc can shift from triumphant to tragic, and of how fame never entirely disappears, even when a series does. The Brown family's experience raises complex questions about responsibility, accountability, and the long shadow of televised life. There are no neat conclusions here. The Alaskan Bush people story, from Billy's death to Rain's arrest, bears earlier legal issues, the lawsuit touching the estate, and the family infighting, is an emblem of contemporary reality television's double edge. It can elevate ordinary people into national figures, but it can also magnify fractures, accelerate disputes, and change the way the public thinks about a family that once presented itself as self-reliant and tightly knit. As the legal process unfolds and as those involved rebuild their private lives, the public will keep watching. The challenge for viewers and for the industry is to balance curiosity with compassion and to remember that the people behind the headlines continue to live complicated lives after the credits roll. Sources and reporting. Note: this piece draws on contemporaneous reporting from People, established news aggregates, and background information compiled in public records and previous coverage of Alaskan Bush people. Key reporting on the 2025 arrests of Rain Brown and Josiah Lorton appears in People. Historical and series context is summarized from encyclopedic coverage and prior news reports. While Alaskan Bush people presented itself as a window into a remote and isolated family, former crew members and production insiders have long hinted that what viewers saw on TV was a fraction of the truth. Behind the scenes, there were edits, retakes, and entire storylines that never made it to broadcast. At times, producers reportedly stepped in to prevent scenes from spiraling out of control. Other times, the cameras simply stopped rolling when things got too real. A family business built on an image. At its peak, Alaskan Bush People was one of Discovery Channel's most watched shows, drawing millions of viewers and generating a media empire of merchandise, branded content, books, and sponsorships. The Browns weren't just a family, they were a business. Fans now say the pursuit of fame and revenue may have deepened existing cracks within the family. As the brand grew, so did disagreements surrounding financial control, salaries, and creative direction. After Billy's death, those tensions reportedly grew worse. He had been the primary negotiator for contracts and the person who handled major business decisions. Without him, siblings and spouses began to clash over who, if anyone, should step into the leadership role. Multiple public documents and affidavits detail disagreements over land, property rights, and family-owned business assets. Several Brown siblings moved off the family ranch entirely, while others stayed close, unwilling to abandon what they believed their father intended for them to continue. Some siblings expressed concern that land purchased with show earnings was being mismanaged, while others feared that the Brown legacy, built over years of filming, was being exploited for personal gain. These accusations have become flashpoints in the family's ongoing internal battles. The tension intensified after the lawsuit claiming Billy owed money to a business partner. Court filings suggested deals and financial arrangements that fans had never heard about.
What audiences believed was a simple wilderness lifestyle was in reality a multi-million-dollar entertainment operation with contracts, legal responsibilities, and profit distribution challenges behind it. From its early seasons, critics accused the show of staging events, scripting dialogue, and exaggerating how isolated the Browns really were. Viewers observed power tools, vehicles, and equipment that seemed out of place in a supposedly self-sustaining wilderness life. Neighbors and locals occasionally told reporters the Browns often stayed in hotels, not the primitive shelters featured on television. While the Browns always insisted the show was an authentic representation of their lifestyle, skepticism lingered. When legal issues and personal scandals began piling up, more fans began wondering whether the entire narrative had been built on a television-friendly illusion. The children who grew up on camera. One of the most tragic aspects of the Browns' story is the impact of fame on the youngest children. Rain, Bear, and Gabriel all spent their formative years in front of a television audience. Millions watched their childhood, their adolescence, and their private struggles unfold publicly. With fame came online attacks, bullying, and microscopic scrutiny. Rain, in particular, faced constant criticism on social media about her appearance, her relationships, and her mental health. She spent years insisting that she was fine until the pressure became impossible to hide. Sources close to the family say she spent time on and off in mental health treatment programs and struggled after her father's death. But instead of retreating from the public eye, she was thrust deeper into drama, court cases, accusations, and the family's growing divide. When Rain was arrested in 2025, some fans expressed outrage. Others expressed sympathy. Many said they saw it coming, calling her a young woman breaking under the weight of too much pain and too much fame. For viewers who loved Alaskan Bush people, the recent years have been difficult. Some say they feel betrayed, believing the Browns hid secrets and pretended to be something they weren't. Others argue that no reality show is truly real and that the Browns are still human beings, deserving of compassion. There is also a persistent debate about who is responsible for what happened to this family. Should the blame fall on producers who built a brand on personal trauma? Should it fall on a television network that profited from the Browns' dysfunction? Or was the family always headed toward this painful unraveling, with or without cameras? One thing is certain: the public's fascination with the Browns has not faded. Even with the show canceled, news articles, court transcripts, leaked family posts, and social media battles continue to draw millions of clicks. Will the Browns ever return? Rumors have circulated that some family members are considering new television deals, podcasts, or documentaries. Others reportedly want nothing to do with media ever again. Sources close to production say that streaming platforms have quietly approached individual Brown children about solo spin-offs, but legal troubles and family conflict have put those conversations on pause. Some viewers claim a return would be exploitative. Others say the Browns deserve a chance to tell their side of the story without heavy editing or network pressure. At this moment, there is no clear future for them on television. From Billy's emotional passing to the cancellations, arrests, accusations, and lies, the Browns' story is no longer just about wilderness survival. It is about grief, fame, money, and trauma. The family that once promised to stick together no matter what is now fractured in ways viewers never imagined. Some are trying to rebuild, some are trying to defend themselves, some are simply trying to survive.